So in today's video I'm working on one of the staple parts of the split window, and it's not the split window itself, but it is the highway headlights. So I have one of the sub-assemblies put together, one of the pods that will go into the fiberglass bucket. This is a unique 63 feature later. They did away with the metal backing plate, and the headlights themselves were made out of aluminum instead of fiberglass, so these just went inside the bucket. But I like how I did it this way. You can take the whole pod out and they're wired together. It's been a little bit of a learning experience because I haven't touched these in such a long time. But these are set up pretty simple. You have your little adjusting screws with a shoulder on it that rides in your cup, one on each side, and then the retaining spring grabs onto the little stainless bezel that goes around the headlight bulb, which holds it in the cup, and their little dowel and shouldering pins in the bulb to locate them into the cup. I also thought it was neat that I pointed out earlier that they had the R1 and R2 in there, but the headlight bulbs themselves also have a 1 and a 2 to designate which cup they go to. So everything's marked really well. I've never changed bulbs on an old car, and if I have, it was at least 10 years ago in my dad's car, so it's been a while. But it's cool to see how they did it back then, how simple it was, and everything's nice and labeled, and these are the correct T3 bulbs. So I'm going to get this assembly put together and keep on chugging along. Next I'm going to assemble the headlight sub-assemblies. So I have a set of brand new bulbs from Corvette World. I have the pigtails for the early 63 housings, all the hardware, the original cups. I polished up the original stainless rings, and I repainted the buckets. And one thing I thought was cool, not only is the bucket stamped with what side it is, but each of the cups are stamped. This one says R1, this one says R2, and these ones say L1 and L2. I thought that was kind of neat. It tells you, so you know which ones are clocked where, and then obviously one's high beam, low beam. So that's probably another way to tell that. But now it's time to start plugging away. Alright, so now that the headlight pods are done, we're going up to the front of the car. So now to put the headlight assemblies in, I need to wind open both headlights manually because we don't have the motors hooked up yet to the rest of the electrical system in the car. I don't even have a battery or battery cables yet, so I'm going to open them manually, which is almost an Olympic sport in itself. So let's get those wound open and start putting them in. Alright, so I'm going to open up the headlights now. They're easy to open. As you can see there on the end below the white connector, there is a knob. One on each motor. You spin the knob in the direction you want the headlight to move, and you hold light pressure on it and it'll open up. It moves very slowly, but since these motors are freshly greased, it won't be that bad. Whenever I took it apart, the grease was rock hard, so it took a lot more persuading to get them open, and not the best for the gears. So since everything's well lubed, it shouldn't take very much effort. It'll just take a little while. This time I'll set a timer right whenever I start, and we'll see how long it takes. I think it should take a little less than a minute, but we'll give it a try. Start. Stop. There it goes. Stop for 4 minutes. That was wrong. So both headlights are wound open, and if you can see, using my flashlight here to try to give you some more light, you can see the bonding lines here, where this is a little metal bracket that is riveted to a piece of fiberglass that was bonded in there, and that's the same with these outer pieces. These are metal with the shafts pressed into the ends here, and then it's also bonded to the fiberglass shell. So that's probably why they did away with that, and they're obviously very fragile since they're fiberglass, but there were more bonding joints to worry about to get lined up versus if you had a mold. Once you have the mold set up, it'll get everything to those specifications pretty much every time, as long as you have good quality control. But the reason why I like these on the 63 is it's quick. You just put these 4 screws in, as you can see there, and then the wire gets fed through the hollow opening in the shaft. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Corvettes, they have 2 electric motors underneath the nose here, one for each side obviously. Like I know some of the Chargers back in the day, they had 1 motor in the center and they had drive shafts going out, but there's 2 separate motors, and there's a wishbone attached to the shaft in here that hits bumpers on the top and the bottom, and that's adjustable to adjust your angle to make sure it goes up far enough, and then whenever it's closed, it's level on the body line. There are little finicky adjustments if you have the motors in. If you do each one step by step whenever you're supposed to, it goes together really easily. And then last but not least, there's a couple little plugs that go in the cover. There's a hole here that you access for the screw. And there's another one back there that you rotate the door around, obviously when the motors aren't in it, and you get access to those screws. Put those plugs back in to seal it up. Install the headlight pod or the headlight harness if you have a later car. Leave these wires open. They come with a connector and a separate baggie. Make sure you leave him off because this connector will not fit through that shaft. Not all that hard to take back off if you have to, but just save yourself a little bit of aggravation. So here are the 3 wires that came from the headlight pod. We have green wire, tan wire, and black wire. Alright, so back at our bench we have our connector, and the back side has a little ledge shown in the diagram. So then it just goes green, black, and tan. Black on the top, green on the left, and tan on the right. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, check out the new videos I've posted around here. The next video on the car is going to be on the rear wiring harness and the tail lights, so be sure to check that out. And I'll give you a quick sneak peek while we're in the garage of what she's going to look like next. So once again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Every view counts.